Good morning. We're looking at John chapter 3, verses 22 to 36. I don't know what your place in your family was like when you were growing up. I'm the oldest of my siblings and the oldest of my cousins at family events. I was always the oldest, and I suspect that shaped me in ways I'd rather not think about too much. I've got a friend who is in a different place in the family. He had a couple of older siblings and a number of older cousins, and he remembers the year at the family Christmas party where all of his family would get together. The first year, and he was probably about 9 or 10, when he was no longer terrible at the games. His older cousins actually wanted him on their team because he was old enough to play properly. And he remembers a couple of years later, the first time he got invited to the pub trip with his cool older cousins. The time had come for those relationships to shift. And John the Baptist was Jesus' older cousin. He started his preaching ministry first. He got his followers first. He baptized people first. He was getting them ready to meet God's Messiah, the rescuer they'd been waiting for. And now it's time for their relationship to shift. In verse 26, John's disciples come to him and they say, "Rabbi, that man who was with you on the other side of the Jordan, the one you testified about, look, he is baptizing and everyone is going to him." And John replies with an image about a wedding. There's a groom and there's a best man. Jesus is the groom. John is now just the best man. It's time for the relationship to shift. John says in verse 30, "He must become greater, I must become less." And in medieval paintings, John the Baptist is often painted pointing at Jesus. Don't look at me, look at him. He must become greater, I must become less. You can see him here actually. Don't look at me, look at him. He must become greater, I must become less. And this has always been a verse that's been a big challenge to me, but also a real encouragement. How can I be pointing at Jesus today, saying he must become greater, I must become less? Don't look at me, look at him. I can do some great stuff on my own. God's made me an amazing person. God's made you an amazing person. But it's having Jesus in my life that really makes stuff make sense for me. It's his love for me, the freedom he's given me, the healing he offers me. He's the rescuer. He's the one that makes it possible for us to live lives to the full. One thing I'm pressing into at the moment, and I know a number of other people are doing it as well, is trying to remember to say thank you to Jesus before I say please. Trying to write down my thank you prayers in the morning before I write down all my troubles and cares and worries. Pointing to Jesus, recognising the good that he's doing in my life before pouring out all my own stuff. Maybe that's something we can do to help this relationship to shift. He's the rescuer, the healer, the saviour. He's with us, he's for us, and we can thank him for that today.